Welcome to another exciting episode of Becoming a Mogul on Channel 247. This week, my guest on the show has a wide range of knowledge in the energy sector. He's championing youth inclusion agenda and is looking forward to leading the new patriotic party in the next general elections. Safwa Poku is Chief Executive Officer and founder of the FKP and Road Investment Limited. He also serves as board director of multinational companies, including the Pan-African Capital Ghana Limited, FIFC Management and Development Limited. His Gasol Oil Company, established in June 2002, successfully negotiated with the Ghana National Petroleum Company for the award of Block 9 South Salt Pond Basin in 2005. Mr. Poku is keenly concerned about the lack of hope for the youth in Ghana, a narrative that is largely driven by his presidential ambition, one he seeks to realize by leading the new patriotic party in the next general elections. Kojo Poku is my guest on Becoming a Mogul. Kojo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I was tempted to say you are welcome, but I realized I am more at your end.
That's okay. I mean, we are both welcome to the show, so I think it's a good thing.
Exactly.
Nice,
how have you been?
nice.
How have you been?
I've been very well. I mean, just been trying to combine work with this new adventure that I'm on. So it's really,
that should be very demanding.
It is demanding because before I decided to do this, I'm a very busy person because I run various organizations and I sit on various boards. So as a result, I did this. My weekends that I would normally be at home, I'm now out meeting people across the country, and it's exciting. But I think I wouldn't give up anything else for this experience.
Definitely. One interesting thing that struck me about your name is Kojo Poku. I tried to read a little bit about you online, but I realized I didn't see any English name attached to your name. Do you have any?
Well, I do, yes.
What's the English name?
My name is Francis Kojo Safwa Poku.
Oh, okay. So the FKP, the Francis,
yes.
The F is Francis?
It's Francis, yes.
Okay.
I'm named after my grandfather,
Okay.
Poku Transport.
Okay.
So I'm the first grandchild who's named 100% after him. He insisted that every first born son of his male child should be named after him. So you realize that there's a lot of Kojo Pokus around, and all Kojo Pokus, except a few, are not Francis. But almost all Kojo Pokus are Francis.
Right, awesome. But you seem to be using the Kojo Poku more.
Yes. Well, basically, just to make it simple. Just to make it simple. I stopped using the Francis, I think, after secondary school.
Okay.
In Safwa, I use it's a household name. I think everybody should have a way that there's a special name that you have. If everybody calls you your special name, then you don't have a special name. So when I'm walking and somebody sees me as like, hey, Nako Jones Safwa, what you're saying, I know it's a family person.
Exactly.
Then you get the Kojo Pokus, who you know are people from various settings. Then when you hear somebody shout Francis, then you know that that person is a mate from school.
Exactly.
So those kind of things. So it's good thing to have in what Akan we say Adakadin. Yes. So Mima Adakadin in Safwa.
And in Safwa. Interesting. For a minute, I thought you were going to tell me that you mean you believe in Pan-Africanism.
Oh no. The name Francis is a beautiful name. I wouldn't give it up for the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? When the Pope chose to be called Pope Francis, I was excited. And if you know where Francis comes from, I mean, from the Saint Francis of Assisi, I'm Catholic.
Right.
Okay, so it's a beautiful name.
Absolutely.
If you know the attribute of a Francis, you wouldn't want to.
You wouldn't trade it for anything.
No. Just that I don't use it, but I am Francis.
Definitely. So let's talk about your upbringing. Where did you grow up?
In Kumasi.
Where in Kumasi? Where are Santini? Or take Okoso?
Yeah. Oh, me take Okoso, but be Okoso Nana.
Oh, you're Okoso Nana.
Yeah, take Okoso Nana. I grew up in Kumasi. I was born in Fantinu Town, in a central part of Kumasi.
Okay.
To basically two young, vibrant people. My dad comes from the Poku side. So, I mean, both parents live in Fantinu Town. Just that one lived in the southern part of Fantinu Town, the other one lived in the Police side of Fantinu Town. But, I mean, we lived in Fantinu Town till I moved to TUC, which is now a very big area. When we moved there was only a few houses there. So, at Fantinu Town, I was at Royal International School, which is one of the first international schools in Kumasi. A lot of great people went to Royal International. Then from there, I went to Pokuwari. I did a stint about a year or so in City of Kumasi, So, I mean, most of my mates are from City of Kumasi, so but that was just for a year. Then I went to OWAS, Form 1 to Form 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're part of the Form 5 people, huh?
Yes. No.
The
our
fifth
time.
form people.
When we were in Form 4 was when the last batch of the. So in Form 4, the last batch of secondary school. So I think the SS1 people came in when we were in Form 5.
Okay.
So I think the last batch of senior secondary, the old system came in when we were in Form 4. So I think that was around 90.
Right.
1990, 91, because I finished O-levels in 91.
Right. So where did you proceed to from?
Well, after O-levels, I mean, I went to London to do my A-levels.
Okay.
And after A-levels, I did some few courses. I tried to do civil, but along that line, I didn't think civil was for me. So I went into IT.
Okay.
And then after IT, did some few courses in IT, and then came off and then started my own business at a very early age. In London back then, when mobile phones had just started, I mean, I had a shop in Tottenham when I used to supply, I was a supplier of most of the mobile phone accessories. So back, I think around 98, I came back to Ghana to basically start my businesses. But then the most important thing about the 98 was that I came to Ghana with a lady that most people know in Ghana as the Iron Lady of Ghana politics. The late Rebecca Hawa Yakubu. Yes, that was when she was coming back to Ghana, when MPP was gearing up for the 2021 election, for 2020 election.
Yes.
So when she now came, I mean, I came with her, and when she now joined the party, because she ran in 96 and 92 as an independent from Mogul, then joined the party in 98. So from then, I was with her through and through during the campaign of His Excellency Jacob Kufuor, the 2 years prior to winning the 2020 election. So that is when I actually got into the MPP politics. But at that time I was young, and I mean, you're talking me just basically being the guy who just tag along, But it was a good experience because I got to meet a lot of people, and you'll be surprised that most people will turn around and say, but we don't know him in the party. But most people today who are in certain places were people that we walked up and down with then, and they were not even in active party politics, and most of them are very close to me, and I'm close to them because they know where I come from and they know the good work that I have done in serving and learning during that 98 all the way to when the party won. And 2001, Honorable Howard became the Minister of Tourism, and I was the Special Assistant at that time in the ministry. And I worked with her till she resigned, then became the first vice of the party in 2005. So, I mean, some of us have done a lot of work. But in terms of my background, I've always been a business person. I wouldn't call myself a politician. I've been a business through and through. I started my first business when I came to Ghana. What a lot of people see me today, and the first thing you ask anybody, what else could you do? They say, oh, he's an energy expert. But what people don't know is that in 98 to 2000, there was something called Y2K. Y2K was the format of the dating in the computer BIOS, in terms of the computer chip. It was only 2 space. And when we were going to go to 2000, the way date was calculated from when they invented computer, was such that they deduct the date. If it's 98, they deduct, let's say, 45 from 98, and they get the date. But then we're going to have 00, which was 2000. The computer, because they didn't have 4 digits, 4 number spacing, was going to have a negative number, and computers couldn't interpret negative numbers. So all old BIOSes, all old motherboards that had that 2 space were going to crash. And it was a big issue. I was part of the Y2K team in Ghana. I mean, at that time, Commander Griffith was the Deputy Minister for Communication at that time in 98, 99. I worked with him under the Health NDC. Kwame Prepra was the Minister of Finance at that time. And there was a team that was formed at the Minister of Communication. And I was part of the team that went around the country educating Ghanaians about Y2K. And I actually, myself and Soft Tribe, that time they were called Soft. When I was coming back, because of my background in IT, I had a software that could actually program the old BIOSes from a 2-digit to a 4-digit space. So I went around doing that for a lot of companies. And because Soft was a software company. They took me on to use the software that I had to basically work for a lot of their clients. So I have a very in-depth IT background, but I don't really use it because for me, I've moved on. Then in 2001, I got into the oil and gas by forming a company called Gas Up Oil.
Yeah.
And the Gas Up Oil is what I went into by partnering some beautiful people from Nigeria. And we've been doing some good work between Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. And that has been my focus from 2001. But at the back, my real background is IT, and a lot of people don't know that.
Interesting. You have such a rich, profile in the space of IT, but it looks like you are widely known or associated more with energy. So I would want to believe that you have chosen to rather carve a certain niche for yourself in the energy space.
Well, it's to do with everything that I do it well.
Okay.
I mean, it's nothing to do with catch a niche.
Okay.
It's just that, look, Gas Up Oil was 2001. And then when we decided that we want to do, my partners and I decided that we want to look at upstream Ghana, where we went to Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
And in Ivory Coast, they told us that, but you guys came from Ghana looking for oil. Why don't you guys look at GMPC in Ghana? Because we think that the offshore Ghana has quite a number of hydrocarbons. So we came to Ghana at that time. Honorable Kandapa, who is now National Security, was Minister of Energy then. Then we met him and he was like, yeah, beautiful Ghana, through His Excellency leadership, is trying to get companies that have money to come in and explore. So Gas Up Oil started looking at acreages offshore Ghana from 2001. 2007, we were given a license for an acreage offshore, which is the South Salt Pond Block. So because of that, when we found, around that 2007 time is when Cosmos found oil. Okay, the Jubilee Partners, 2007. And at that time, when we now went into 2010, when we were doing all the various seminars and stuff like that, I actually went into one of the seminars at Alisa. And the interactions that was had, I think I was one of the few Ghanaian young guys that had that level of experience within the oil and gas space. So some of the media guys were very thrilled to collect my numbers and call me for interviews and stuff like that. But it's just a matter of my willingness to be able to explain the space to people. And because I have practical, in-depth knowledge, it's not like I have a PhD in the energy sector, but for the 8 to 10 years that I spent listening to geophysicists, geologists, and all those people in the space, and I read a lot. Right. I'm somebody who can just pick any topic and read extensively. So I don't necessarily need to be that, okay, I was taught this. I mean, I self-read on a lot of topics, So that is how that came about. Then along the line, we now gradually edge ourselves into the power crisis in 2012. Then I started researching into what is causing the low demand and then what is causing the load shedding. And we started having interactions with the ECG, Gridco, and all those. And from there, I also grabbed a lot of energy. Then there was a company that I formed in 2013 called Small Hydro Development Company Limited. And what Small Hydro intended to do was to develop 3 hydro dams on the Ankobra River. I noticed that, look, we were signing all these PPAs with foreign companies, and we have rivers that we can do mini hydros. So why can't a Ghanaian also take on to that experience? And one of the things that I do most is I venture into various areas of business, and people are like, Masa, don't you get tired of trying to do new things? But I'm like, you know what? It's always good to venture into other things. So there were 2 gentlemen from Hydrological Survey Department. One, they both actually are on retirement, Mr. Wise Amatepe and Mr. Lote. Very nice gentlemen who are just retired from hydro and very big brain in hydrology. So I partnered them and we formed the company Small Hydro Development Company Limited, 100% Ghanaian. And we started modeling the possibility of doing 3 hydro dams on the Ankobra River. We got a Canadian company called Knight Piesode to partner. And we did our first pre-feasibility studies and got a MOU signed with ECG. Then the ministry also liked the idea. So that project we started, along the line got some bumps because when we were getting funding from the US and other places, that was when the government had signed too many PPAs, about 10,000 megawatts of PPAs out there. And most investors were a bit jittery that, look, you guys are trying to do something like 48 megawatts of small hydro. though it falls under renewable, because anything less than 100 megawatts is seen as renewable. So, and we don't displace any communities, more of what we call a run-of-river technology. So in that, a lot of companies were interested in coming on board with us, but the off-taker, government was going to be ECG, or government was going to be the off-taker. And this same government has signed too many PPAs, and the investors were a bit worried that the government doesn't have the physical space to take the power, even if we build the dam and develop it. That stalled the project from 2016, 2017, and a lot is happening then. So that project has been shelved a little bit. But that got me into the power sector. Okay, so from the small hydro, I now got to learn a bit about hydrology, flow rates of river, trying to buy gauges onto rivers to measure flow levels and all that. So, through my practical experience, I have achieved most of these knowledges.
And that's very interesting, because I definitely would have wanted to ask you about formal education, because you don't seem to have sat in the classroom to study all these things. You have such a wide range of knowledge in the energy space, yet you haven't sat in any classroom, in any energy classroom. What do you think, from your practical perspective, what do you think that phenomenon speak of our education system in Ghana?
Well, I don't think it speaks bad of our education system. It's just that a lot of people are not self-read.
Okay.
A lot of people think that, I say that education, okay, be it your common entrance or your first level, second level, I don't know what the system is these days, but let's say in my time, your O-level, A-level, or university degree, it's only education. You've been empowered, or you've been taught something. You now need to go out there and explore the world.
Right.
Okay, so what do you do when you're exploring the world? You take the knowledge that's been impacted on you to now use it to now look at other things. Everybody wants to work in the field that they went to university. It's not possible. Okay, you went and you were taught something, so you have knowledge. Then you are now like a cocoon that's been butterflied. The world is your limit. The sky is the limit. So where do you go? You don't just stay on that flower within which you burst. You go out and explore. So what the point I'm trying to make is that the young people of today, and most people also, think that, I went to school to do this, and that is what I have to do. No, you've been impacted knowledge. That knowledge is what you now becomes your foundation. Based on that, you build other things. So you could be a lawyer, but you don't necessarily always have to dwell on all your life doing litigation. You can use the law as your foundation to explore other areas. I always say that there is hobby or interest and career. Okay, you can probably make money from your career or make money from your interest. It doesn't matter. You cannot necessarily have to do one thing. If you are in Ghana and you're only doing one thing, there's a problem. You need to do multiple things. There's so many time on our hand, okay? So the multiple things that you do, you now realize that you have multiple revenue streams. One might not earn money immediately, but one will earn money in the future. One might earn money immediately, but that's not what you really want to do, but you stick with it, okay? But I just think that we just have this laid-back attitude. If you've traveled across West Africa, everybody will tell you that Nigerians are aggressive. Why is that? They are more aggressive than us in nature. Okay, most people don't like working in Nigerian banks. Why is that? Because the targets that Nigerian bank will set Ghanaians think is too aggressive, but that's how they are. If you go to a Nigerian company and tell them that, look, I want X, Y, Z, I want a plane, I want a helicopter, I want a Lamborghini, they will buy you all that. But at the end of the day, they will not set you a target. That justifies why they should give you all those things you're asking for. So if you say that, I have not sat in any education, any classroom to know about energy, but I think today, if I'm not being boastful, if you are to call the best brain in the sector, you are calling 5 people, you call me.
You make the cut, definitely.
You understand? Yeah. So, and most of it, what I have always said when I've met the likes of Dr. Manteya, who I respect a lot, and the likes who have really done a lot of in-depth, one of the things I bring to the table is the practical business end of it, because I didn't go to the classroom and learn the theory. I did the practical. And the most important thing is the business end of it, because no matter everything you do, how do you make money? So you can stand there and say a lot of things. The fundamental thing is that, okay, all those things you've said, how do you now convert it into a currency? And that's where I come in. A typical example, there was a law that was passed, the Renewable Energy Act 832. Okay, there are parts of it that was brilliant. There were things talked about, oh, you can generate solar power, and with the solar power that you generate, you can let your next door neighbor net metering. Okay, there was also a feed-in tariff. The feed-in tariff was that, oh, there's a set rate that was set. If you like that rate, you can, let's say you want to do solar or wind. The feed-in tariff for solar or wind is X. So you can come in, if it makes sense, you calculate it and you do your project. I had problems with it because I tried to use the feed-in tariff to work and it didn't work. So I went back to the ministry back and forth, and through that dialogue, there's been an amendment to that where the feed-in tariff is no longer used, and now there are other ways that the business is looked at. So for me, I think people should read.
All right.
You know, your basic fundamental education you are impacted with. You go to school, you got that. But after that, it's up to you. The youth need to find ways of impacting knowledge on. After they've been impacting the basic education, they need to find way to self-read and stop using the social media for only things that's not necessary. Everybody has a phone. They Google. What do they Google? Unnecessary things. Snapchat, IG, Instagram and Facebook. Those are the things. We need to use that social media. Everything you want to read, if you don't find it on YouTube, it doesn't exist.
That's true. Interested. Everything you want to read, if you don't find it on YouTube, it doesn't exist. Words from Kojo Poku. Well, Kojo, interesting. You've also, outlined a number of things that GASOP has done in the energy sector, and how personally you've been able to, bring certain investors and partners on board. With in the face of all these, what would you say has been the contribution to GASOP, with you in perspective, in Ghana's oil sector?
Well, look, in terms of the Ghana oil sector, I think what has impacted, or the contribution it's been, is that it's taught me that party politics doesn't empower any Ghanaian. Okay. 2, Ghana is better off for it because there's a Ghanaian who now can contribute to policy formulation and policy discussion and stuff like that. I would have wished that if the politicians have had open-mindedness, maybe I would have had a bit more wealth than I have now, because I faced challenges. One of the basic fundamental challenges I faced was that, yes, I was part of a party. I worked with the late Honorable Hawa Yakubu. I had a lot of contacts through working with her. I was close to His Excellency General Jekumpufo, who is my grand uncle. Okay, so when we now came off 2009, the NDC saw a young guy who I didn't have money. I wouldn't say I was rich, but I had enough to get by.
Yes.
And what I went through as a young guy, I don't wish that on anybody. Okay, because for some reason there was this vendetta against anybody MPP at that time, because the NDC came in 2009 with venom. Okay, and they earmarked a lot of the oil blocks straight away, decided that they're going to cancel them.
And that's what the NDC is also accusing NPP of doing now.
Well, I'm talking about my personal experience.
Yes.
My personal, perspective.
Okay,
my personal
experience.
Okay, and I sat in meetings with high-level NDC people that told me in my face that, Masa, now oil and gas, Masa, you have to come out of this way. What does that mean?
And
you understand?
Yeah.
So a lot went on, and the reason that for me went through what I went through between 2009 and 2011 is because I was targeted as a Kufuor boy, and went through hell. Okay, the block they eventually took away and gave it to a Britannia the woman who also didn't do anything with the block. It's difficult to develop an oil block. It's not easy. It's like the way the mining sector is. The rules for the Ghanaians is different from the rules for the expats. So I think in the oil and gas sector, what Ghana should have done is that if we want to empower Ghanaians in that sector, we should not have the same rules for the Ghanaian as we should have for the Talo and stuff like that, because they had all the money and they can go out there. So if Kojo Poku probably comes in and take the block, yes, maybe I'm having a few challenges here and there, but my challenge is everybody who wants a Ghanaian to succeed should call me and say, Masa, you are slow on what you're doing. What are your challenges? How can we help you? Those are the things that have really gotten me to the point where today I said, look, We are tired of these old people who doesn't have any good ideas for young people to lead us. I want to lead because I have gone through certain things that I think if I'm a leader, I will help a lot of young people than those old people.
Right. So we'll delve more into that. But it's interesting you mentioned that a lot of people have also, opined that there are certain sectors of development or institutions that they feel should not be partisan or should not be, driven on the tangent of politics. Would
100%.
you say that the oil sector is one of
100%.
those?
100%. It shouldn't be. Look, what I'm saying is that if I have money, a Ghanaian has money. If you have money, a Ghanaian have money. When you talk about Dangote, is he Swedish? He's Nigerian. Nigerians are going around. Dangote in 2001 was so much in debt. Go and Google Dangote 2001. Nobody knew Dangote. Even in 2008, who knew Dangote? You understand? There was a visionary person, His Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, who had a vision. The Adenugas and the Glows and the Dangotes and all that is because Obasanjo came in and decided that he's going to put certain policies in place that will empower Nigerians to be the Adetoles, the Dangotes of today. That's the problem. Meanwhile, the partisan politics we are doing in Ghana is reversing a rich person to a pauper. There are rich people who, when parties come into power, end up with nothing. We are not empowering anybody. And this thing has been going on from the Jerry John time of the coup d'etats, when people like my grandfather has to leave Ghana and go and live in Ivory Coast. You understand? Just because his crime is that he has money. And a lot of people, that Pierre Minkens and all these people, look, today, Diageo, where you call Guinness today, Accra Brewery, used to be Achimota Brewery for the Siam family, was owned by a Ghanaian. It was taken from him, never returned to him, gone through a lot of hands. Now it's Guinness. Diageo owns it. So our politics is such that we are not empowering Ghanaians. We are actually doing the reverse, making Ghanaians poorer.
So, how are you going to curb this menace? I mean, you are bringing the youth inclusion agenda. You want young people to believe in you. You want them to give you the mandate to lead them once, you go through the process of leading the NPP in the next election. How are you able to, because the truth of the reality of the ground is that people are nearly given up in governance.
No, people have given up in governance.
Exactly, people have given up in governance. I think I don't have to be economical about the truth. People have actually given up on governance, and you can attribute that to a lot of the factors you have enumerated. So how are you able to convince people that a Kojo Poku-led government is bringing something new to the table?
Well, look, and it's interesting you said this. I mean, every now and then I handle my own social media pages. So, I mean, a lady came on my IG page and was doing a back and forth with me. And I realized that she came to the conversation preconceived. And it's normal. I mean, there's a lot going on today that I'm disgusted about, okay? A lot going on today that Ghanaians are disgusted about. There's a lot that's been going on in the past that everybody's disgusted about.
Absolutely.
The point is, I don't have to come in and try to change everybody's opinion, because you can't. I mean, you'll be fighting a losing battle because people have deep-seated conviction, and they can point to issues why they are deep-seated conviction. So for me, I'm just saying that, look, those that you can change their mind and those that are not so deep-seated, work with them. Then by your fruits of your labor, people will see that, okay, so he's different. Then by conviction, by seeing what you've done, they'll change their mind on you. Because look, anything I say, somebody have said before and did not do what they said they would do. I go around the country. I've been to 8 regions, talking to young people to say that, look. And the first question they ask me is, Abasa, we've heard all this before. We've even heard sweeter ones. One of the things I don't try to do is I don't do promises, okay? Because I know it's difficult to fulfill those things. So I'm not going to stand on a podium or stand in the middle of a gathering and promise. No, I don't do that. I tell you the reality, how I want to change it. The Ghanaian is a problem. There's a lot of indiscipline in this country, and we talk about indiscipline a lot, but nobody wants to face that indiscipline conversation. Unless we face the indiscipline conversation, I'm sorry. There is the youth, there is that people who don't care about politics. In that segment, there's a lot of indiscipline. The indiscipline of in decency, promptness, okay, and what's the word I want to use again? Urgency.
There's no
Okay?
sense of urgency.
There's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of promptness. There's no decency in our society. Those three things are key. And I think that if we want to now change a lot of things, people might think it's trivial. It's not. We can build all the roads in the world, okay? We can build 4 lanes. But what's the point going to borrow money and build 4 lanes and trotro people will stop in 2 lanes and still cause traffic behind it? So go to the Adenta Medina Road, okay, from Legon to Adenta. It's a double lane, 3 lanes, okay? But the trotro will use 1 lane and it will only be reduced into a 2 lane. And everybody just walk by as if there's nothing wrong with it. At the traffic light, where nobody's supposed to stand, that is where all the trotro want to alight their people and take them. At the golf house, when you just come out of the East Legon, coming into the African region, all the trotro wants to now pick people in the middle of the road at the golf house. If that is not there, do you know how smoothly the traffic will move? So it's the indiscipline that the drivers on our roads are doing. Nobody's educated. So that's the point. That's where I think that we need to have the Commission on Civic Education really drum home on the adults. We need to have an orientation on the decency, promptness, and urgency. Then go back to the kindergarten, the kids, and start a module or a curriculum to impact that with the youth, with the kids. Because the older ones, you must have lost a generation. But the younger ones, you need to start. If you look at the Singapore model, go and listen to the guy who did Singapore. He tells you that, do you think it's easy to ask people to stop spitting outside? And he did it. He actually stopped people from spitting outside. Why do you think that's that? Because he has to go through a process of orientation and education. So the kids from primary school down, we need to introduce a curriculum for civic education. Very key. And teach discipline. My kid, when I went to America, I was driving. Then he says he wants to pee. I'm like, okay. I go to a car park where I saw some container. I park, I'm like, go behind. He says, no, Dad, I can't do that. I'm like, Masa, go ahead. He says, no. I said all I had to say. My son never peed behind the container. Why? Because he's been taught in school that it's wrong. I tried to leave him in the car and go out across the road and buy something. When I came back, he told me, Dad, you can't do that again. He told me that the kid was 5. Told me I cannot leave him in the car again because it's wrong. He brings attention to it. So if we teach the kids with all this putting rubbish in the outside, spitting outside and all that, kids in the car will correct you.
Right. So attitudinal change amongst the youth, young people. You also talk about, curbing the menace of corruption when you are giving the mandate to lead. How are you going to tackle corruption? Because corruption is such a big issue when it comes to governance in Ghana. And we can mention a lot of instances. So how is a Kujupoko-led administration going to curb the menace of corruption?
Okay, so in life, you need to have a deep conviction if you want to do anything, okay? And you have to be disgusted about certain things. Greed is what is the underlying thing for corruption. I'm disgusted at greed. I think that in governance, you can do well and make something small for yourself without necessarily having to be greedy. The problem in Ghana now is that everybody, and no offense to people who live in these areas that I'm about to mention, but somebody probably live in Bubuashi or live in Asokore-Mampo in the Ashanti region area. And in less than 1 year, he wants to live in East Legon or Cantonment. It's not possible. You understand? If you live in Bubuashi and you want to move from Bubuashi and live in East Legon within 1 year, unless you won the lottery
or a miracle.
Or a miracle, or something drastic happens in your life. And that something drastic is what me and you are now discussing, which is greed. The population of Ghana today don't want to go through the process of working hard to now change your life. They want to make it overnight. And that is where we see our young ones going to Sakawa and all these things that they are doing. I'm disgusted by greed. So what I want to do is to make sure that you go to the underlying cause. It's mainly to do with government. Look, in the past, when we are pouring libation at home, one of the things that families asked for was two things: a banker, and what's the one? Impotence. Two things: a banker, because nobody wanted you to get involved with the government, because everybody stayed away from government. Today, everybody pray to get involved with government because it's
that's a quick way to
exactly. You see, so if you are able to take away that stint, which is how would you do that? Most people who work in the civil service today, I don't even think they have a code of conduct. Okay, I would want everybody to sign a code of conduct, and that code of conduct will spell out clearly what happens to you if you do X, Y, Z. Now, I always keep saying, and people laugh, that if I was to ever contract a loan and I come into government, my probably first loan would be to build two prisons. Two brand new prisons, very huge ones. One in the northern part of the country and one in the southern part of the country. Call the northern one Sodom and call the southern one Gomorrah. Okay? Big outdoor prisons. Why is that? Because we need a place to take the ones who are not worthy to be with us. If people know it's there, okay, then fill it up. Because prisons are choked. And as a result, we think that, where are you going to put them? So if we now build two brand new massive outdoor prisons, one in the north, one in the south, Sodom and Gomorrah, okay?
Including government appointees?
Everybody, Ghanaians, forget government appointees, Nigerians.
Right, because...
Everybody, my brother, let's not try everybody. Everybody, okay? As long as you touch the government purse. A private person, I'm a private man. I do deals. I'm not a saint, but I do deals in the private sector. I do deals with my other private companies. So it's a private to private deal. Nobody cares about us. As long as everybody gets what they want, we are all happy and everybody sleeps well, okay? But in the government sector, if you are appointed to be responsible for all our money, all 33 million people, you are the one that has been appointed to hold that position. You should be accountable to all 33 million. And what I think Ghanaians want is to take that stint out of that thing where everybody think that the easiest way to make money is government. I want to take that stint out. I want to bring back that thing where when people are praying at home, they pray for a banker. So it's stiff. It's non-negotiable.
But that's a thing successive governments have failed to do. Would you agree?
Yes, because they don't have the conviction I have. They are not disgusted at greed that I have.
Okay, including your party.
Including, yes,
New Patriotic Party.
Yes.
What would be your assessment of the current administration's fights against corruption?
2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
Yes.
So the Akufo-Addo-led NPP has failed in fighting corruption.
100%.
That's the conclusion.
98%.
Okay.
They failed. And you and I know that. Look, I keep saying this. Look, there are people at best should be fighting for their life in court. There are some people at best. Because when we're in opposition, I'll give you I'm going to get it. When we're in opposition, there were numerous of names that we bombarded out there.
Yeah.
This person has done this person has done this. We came into power and nobody has even heard their charges against them in court. Now, there was the banking sector cleanup.
Yeah.
Okay? We saw reports from Bank of Ghana and receivers telling us some families and banks that people have taken monies that today Ghanaians are paying banking sector recovery levy. The cleanup, we are paying a levy towards that. Nobody, aside the Capital Bank people who are in court, are Toisian and the Otabo Group. Who else is in court? Beige Capital, Ideal Finance. Any of those people, have you heard any of them in court? No. Why? At least they should be in court, if for nothing at all. Unibank, okay? Who in Unibank is in court? Then we come to banking supervision. The people whose job they were responsible to make sure that these banks didn't do what they did. Which of them are in court? The Bank of Ghana governor at the time, where is he? Okay, so look, 98% failed. There's 2% because some people are in court. So you can't say zero. But the majority of the people who now took Ghanaians' money and chopped that money today are walking free, lying in their air-conditioned room. Why do you think any criminal case should take 5 years? Opunni's case is still in court. Why? One of the things I have said is that I don't think any criminal case should go past 2 years. And 2 years because the legal calendar is not a full year. The legal calendar, I think, is 8 months. So the 2 legal calendars, every criminal case should be finished. You shouldn't be taken to court and in more than 2 legal calendars you are working. It's either somebody has accused your father that he's a thief, and in 2 legal calendars, everybody knows that he's no longer a thief, or if indeed he is a thief, he should go to jail. Simple.
Okay, Kojo, one more thing also in politics is vote buying. And people have largely attributed that to, the reason why we get, quote unquote, the wrong persons in office is due to vote buying. So people, those who do not necessarily have the space or capacity to lead the people are ended up voted for because they bought votes from delegates.
Well,
are you going to go on that tangent?
I don't have the money to do that.
You don't
I'm the
so you're not going to pay delegates to vote for
monetization of the grassroots politics is what will kill Ghanaian politics or democracy if it doesn't stop. And it will have to stop. The trajectory that is on now, everything goes in a parabola.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it crescendos and comes down. We are getting to the crescendo. Very soon we'll get there because the amount of monies that are being pumped to the grassroots politics, it will get to a point we can't afford to do that. Look, there are areas where because of the large numbers of delegates, people are going there and saying that, it will be 2,000 per delegate or 3,000 per delegate or whatever. That number will keep going up to a point where nobody can afford to pay. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that when I said I don't have that money, I'm probably the only person running for the flag bearership of the MPP who think that this thing should be a policy-led conversation, because I didn't look at my pocket to decide to be president. I looked at the wealth of knowledge I have and the conviction and the guts that I have that I think I can do better. Most of the people doing this looked at their pocket and think, ideally, how much will it cost? 10 million. I have it. Let me run for president. I don't have $10 million. Can I raise $10 million? Hell yeah, I can raise more than $10 million. If I have to run a political campaign, I can raise that money because of the goodwill I have with people. But I don't have that. But people are more than happy to contribute towards my campaign because they know the goodwill and what I can do. But people who are declaring to be president today, the first thing they look at is how much money they have and they think how much it will cost. That's the difference between them and me. Because if I was to look at my pocket before I decided to be president, then I would do it because I do not have that money in the bank. Okay? The issue is this. I entered this or decide or want to enter this race to make it a policy discussion. A lot of people doesn't want it to be because they know that if we are to line up, and I've called for debate like the American style. Let's line up all the 7 people who wants to be president of MPP. Who wants to lead the MPP? Let's face it on. Let's have the interview.
And nobody seems to be interested in that.
Why would they? Do you think the people who are declaring to be president can stand on the podium with me and discuss energy? No.
No, but they also have other field areas
of expertise. But those fields are fields that I'm well versed and I have solutions to. But they don't. The areas of expertise, most of them are very one-sided areas. Most of them have not gone through the various things. Look, I am not an expert in every field, but at least within the last 5 years, I have a book at home where I have a reform policy for every sector of this economy. And I think we should reform all the sectors of our economy because what we have today has not gone through any major process. The colonial time, we inherited a system. That system in Nkrumah had it for 6-7 years and was overthrown. So it wasn't really tested and changed. Today, we still have ordinance in our laws. Then a lot of the laws that we have was NRC, AFRC, and stuff like that. It means that our parliament today has not really had time to enact most of the laws.
And that even brings the conversation about amending the entire 1992
Yes,
constitution.
because it was premised on a lot of wrong instances. So that needs to be looked at. But the point I'm making is that Ghana system, the democratic system we have it today, has gone through a lot of turbulence.
Absolutely.
Look at the number of years that we've had for democratic rule and the number of years we had for military or authoritative rule or one government rule. So Jerry John had 20 years. Yeah. Then you add the Kufus, the Champons, the Free First, and then all those things. So the Nkrumah one was really an inertia. We inherited something from the colonial government. We hadn't really looked at it. Nkrumah had his own ideas. He thought he wants to go one party rule and all that. So he didn't really do much to enact a lot of democratic rules. So the system we have now is challenged. So it needs to be looked at. But the point that we all need to make is that we do not have a system that will stand the test of time going forward. It needs to be changed. Look, our military. Why do we keep recruiting people into the military? What war are we going to ever fight? Today, do you think there's going to be a war that we are going to march onto a park where there's another country will march their people to the park and will do like you see in movies?
Well, but we don't need military just for wars, do we?
What do we need the military for?
I mean, they play other internal security
Thank you.
factors,
So
yes.
That's the point. So if we need military for other things, then the military should be equipped and recruited and reformed to do those things. The kind of people going into our military today, we need the kind of West Point kind of system where the military will be an institution, an educational institution, like the US have, West Point, okay? So somebody can go into the military and there we have scientists, engineers, nuclear physicists and all that in the military. And that is where people can now decide to now go into the military and do other disciplines. So you are right, the military is not only for war, but the military that we have today, we are recruiting people for what? We are not adding any value to the people we are recruited.
Brilliant. You've outlined a lot of brilliant ideas, initiatives, policies that you would want to implement if you become president of Ghana. And you can only become president of Ghana if you appear on the ballot paper. And appearing on the ballot paper means that a certain political party, which is MPP in your case, has approved you or voted for you to lead them. And these are going to be delegates. Well, the issue of monetization of politics has been very big so far as the conversation of our political system is concerned. And your party, NPP, has been cited several times, for perpetuating or pushing this monetization of politics in Ghana. And that has become a demand for a lot of delegates. Kojo Poku, personally, would you pay for or buy votes from delegates?
Do you know how many delegates vote for the presidential primaries or the flag bearer primaries?
Well, it's a sizable one.
Over 200,000.
Yes.
How are you going to do that? You want to go around and give 200,000 people money?
Well, there are some who are willing to do so.
No, then good luck to them. But I don't think
I don't
think anybody can afford that. If you can afford to give 200,000 people, pay off 200,000 people to vote for you, by all means, be my guest and go ahead and do that.
But you are going to pay less than 200,000.
Well, I'm not prepared to pay anybody to vote for me. What I'm prepared to do, listen to this. What I'm prepared to do is to engage.
Okay.
Is to provide logistics. Look, we're talking about youth training, skill acquisition. In the next 6 months, one of the things I'm doing now is going to every region to introduce myself because I'm the least known of all the candidates. Nice. I've never held a ministerial position before. I've never been an MP, never held anything. So people hardly know me. So I'm going around and talking to delegates and meeting them, introducing myself. They are taking the sweet, good words to their people.
Okay.
Jesus only met 12 people, or only had 12 people. Only had 12 people.
12 disciples.
12 disciples. And afterwards, guess what happened? His words now went all over the world. So I want to have the KMP family in all 16 regions. Those KMP families will now spread the good word of Kojo Poku trying to a young guy who wants to be president, okay? Then we will look at policies and programs that we can do for people within these communities. Scented candles, soap making, something small that doesn't cost a lot of money, okay? Maybe community engagement, other things. We are exploring, my team is looking at a lot of things we can do to help rural folks, community folks, and things like that. Maybe awareness of cervical cancer, all those things that we want to do. Then by so doing, we are engaging in the community. Then when it comes next year and there's a time to pick the form, I'll pick the form, go for vetting. if I'm approved and go through the vetting, then there's the issue of if there's more than 5, it has to be bring down to 5.
Yes.
Then we'll do that conversation and appeal to the constituency executive, regional executive, national executive, the MPs, those that constitute that council, that electoral college, to say that, look, I am worthy of the 5. If they think I'm worthy of the 5, then the campaign proper starts. I will go around and put out my message. But what I am asking is that everybody who wants to be president, MPP cannot elect somebody we can't sell to break the 8. If we want to break the 8, then let's have a debate. Really and truly, let's have a debate.
Is that the only means of?
No, but it's a way that it will get a lot of people. No, it opens a lot of people up. It opens people up. Debate open people up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Some people don't say much, and some people we think know. Maybe they don't. Maybe you think I know. Maybe I don't. But the point is, let's put them in front of the camera and ask them the questions.
For the people to judge
for
themselves.
people to know what they are made of. Not because they give money or because they say they created jobs for people. But what policies in every facet. Look, the energy sector today is the biggest sector in the country.
Absolutely.
It affects everybody. Increase in fuel, everybody's up and out.
Affects every sector of the economy. Yeah.
Increase in electricity, everybody is out. In everything, shortage of fuel, it will affect everybody. So look, if somebody doesn't have solutions to the current problems in the energy sector, that person doesn't have solutions to 50% of our problems. Okay, then you can now go and look at education, at great health, and all those other things. But one of the key areas that, for me, I think have an advantage is that what makes the nation tick is my baby. That's energy. So I have not dwelled on that.
Well, one more thing too, Kojo. Your party, NPP, they say, or people will say that there's a certain form of tradition within the party that you need to come from to lead, and that tradition seems to be rotational. You know that very well, don't you?
I don't know, but
you don't know. But it's a conversation.
You're informing me for the first time, but I'm happy to listen to it.
Okay, so people say there was this Dankwa Dombobuzia tradition,
which is what the party is.
Yes. And so every flag bearer or anyone aspiring to lead the party must come from or should come from that tradition. That's a conversation people are having.
Well, that's not in our constitution. The party constitution is very simple. Who leads the party?
Well, but
I'm an Ashanti.
Yes,
that's the most important.
Right.
Thing. You see, everybody, you can be an Afanti, you can be this, but I'm an Ashanti who has been with the party. I'm a card-bearing member in good standing for so many years. So that is what the constitution says. Somebody has another theory of Obadaben or Bayenche and
you've been hearing those things.
Well, that's fine, but no, it doesn't, because I've been around.
Okay.
Look, a lot of people. Look, I talked about 98.
Yes.
There are a few people. The deputy health minister, Tina Mensah. Yeah. If you happen to see her, ask her about Kujo. Tina will tell you if she doesn't know Kujo. Rita Asobare, ask Rita about Kujo. She doesn't know Kujo. She'll tell you she doesn't know Kujo. But I was just the boy who just walked around and watched them do what they do. But you can't tell me I've not been around. Go and ask Nana Binketia, who is President Kufuor's special assistant when he was for 8 years. Ask Nana Binketia, who is Kojo Poku. So I'm giving you names of people today who hold very high esteem in the party. And ask them if they know Kojo Poku. If they can stand and raise their hand and say, we don't know that boy, then that's fine. But they wouldn't. You understand? Thank you.
Let's keep the conversation soft a bit now. Do you love listening to music?
Of course.
You do?
Yes.
Who in Ghana does it for you?
Lumba.
What's your favorite song of Lumba? Of what time?
My favorite song of Lumba is the one that my mom, who passed away last year, didn't like.
Okay.
Odobe Kodianke Nunko.
Oh, okay. And she didn't like that song?
No.
Well, I understand why she doesn't
Lumba
like it.
only sang that song after her mom, Amisa, died.
Okay.
And before that, every Lumba song had Amisa in there. It was after his mother died, and I went to the funeral.
Yes.
That he now sang Odobe Kodianke Nunko. And my mom was like,
One can
but that's the song.
Well, for those who have not said that song yet, let's quickly check that out.
When your baby dear, me your baby, lady, crazy. When your baby dear, me your baby, baby. When your boy buy me your baby, La la la. Waiting on your so baby. I'm paying it no feel. Baby. And you get your banya quadro. Baby. Makuma zilla. La la la. Get the nakina or dying fear. Miko ben mananifa. Making or done in that time. Miko ben mananifa. Yansa Moke. Miko ben mananifa. Mami don't meow. Then I don't meow. Miko ben mananifa. You're not in the Sabeka Mamba. Minande. And I'm me. Madisa Waka. Mama. Coach. You're not in the Sabeka Mamba. Me Wulu. And I'm me. Madisa Waka. Mama Samu.
Well, there must be something very interesting about Daddy Lumba.
Yes, because he is a very good friend. Known him for so many years, but I think he's just the most creative person ever to live in Africa. I think when it comes to music in Africa, nobody knows how.
He sits at the top. Right?
Nobody knows how genius the guy is. Since 1986, right, till about, let's say, 2020, or let's say even 2018, the guy had an album every year. Do you know what that means? The catalog of music Lumba has. I don't think you will need to repeat a Lumba song if you want to play Lumba songs.
No, that's all. Favorite Ghanaian dish? Fufu.
I don't eat fufu.
You don't?
Yo, I've never had fufu in my life. I don't eat chicken. I've never had fufu. Favorite Ghanaian? I don't think is jollof a Ghanaian dish.
Yeah, it's become a Ghana jollof.
Well, yes, if jollof is a Ghanaian dish, then my favorite will be, but then aside that, it will be the green, which is the kontumre in the sanka with puna.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Not just any yam, puna yam.
Puna specifically.
Yes, and then in the sanka, you need to have all the accoutrements.
You
need to have...
I'm salivating already.
You need to have the kobe.
Yes.
You need to have the pear, avocado. You need to have the egg. And then the oil that comes in, you should have made sure say you don't bend the genie. The genie comes with it, so the genie now makes it.
It has to be a total package.
It has to be a total package. That's the accoutrements.
Awesome. Could you your final words to our viewers?
Well, I really love engaging you guys, and for me, I have always said that anytime I can give back in terms of education, in terms of advice to the youth, I want to do that. I really think that there's a lot that some of us can give back in terms of advice. People think that engagement or calling or talking to somebody is all about money. There's advice and directions that you can give to someone that doesn't have to be money, but it's more than its weight in gold. So I am really happy engaging you guys, and I think your viewers enjoy our interactions. But I'm enjoying it, and normally when people say KMP, everybody says Voice of the Youth. So I'm basically saying hi to all the KMP families around the country. That's the Voice of the Youth is coming next door to them.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, I've been talking to Kwedi Poku. He is an energy expert, and he is aspiring to lead the NPP in the next general elections. This has been becoming a Mogul with me for myself. Thank you very much.